Hey there, it's me again. Wow, I'm not dead. I get a lot of that. People think because I haven't been on YouTube for, well, close to a year, maybe more than a year. God, I don't know. I must be dead or something. But no, the issue is that the novelty of YouTube is kind of wearing off because of their cancel culture and censorship and just their political crapola that is completely unnecessary. So I've been staying away from it as far as publishing any videos. And notice I said publishing, not just uploading, because no matter what YouTube says, they try to say that they are a platform, but when they go to the trouble of censoring people and demonetizing videos and stuff like that, no, they're most definitely a publisher, because they're controlling things and forcing their opinions upon everybody, saying what's allowed and what's not. So no, they are most definitely a publisher. This is why I have never engaged in that monetization of videos. I don't need the money, and honestly, I don't think there's too many things in this world that are more annoying than watching a video on YouTube that keeps constantly getting preempted with ads. Totally pointless. Oh, at any rate, I had a lot of people bugging me since that last video in November of last year, asking for an update. You know, they want to see what's changed or just what's been going on. So I'm going to go through a few things here, and we'll see what happens after that. I don't know how much longer I'm going to maintain this YouTube thing. It's just too damn annoying. I'm not going to take the videos down or anything, but this political crap that's totally unnecessary and censoring people, I really don't need to be part of it. It's a good thing my my channel does not fall into that new threat that they just popped up with a couple weeks ago, saying that they're going to start removing channels that they don't find commercially viable. Well, I don't use your stupid ads anyway, or your monetization, so I guess I'm not a very commercially viable person. At any rate, moving on. Okay, the first change that I'm going to cover in this video is the change to the software that runs on the computer in the greenhouse that controls the heating and cooling and temperature monitoring and all that good stuff. And before someone flips me shit about owning an Acer computer, keep in mind this is a Chromebook, and the only purpose I have for a laptop is an internet appliance. I'm not doing power user anything with any laptop. I have desktop systems for that. So yuck it up all you want. These things can't get infected. They don't run Windows. They actually run Google's own version of Linux. So good luck running a Windows malware program on one of these. It'll just say, I don't know what to do with this. So anyway, when I showed the software on my phone in a previous video that I had written on this, or written for this in PHP, umpteen people, and I mean well over 1,000, and I have the emails to prove it, they were bugging me to release the source code because, oh Larry, you say everything you do is open source, give us your source code. And going, well, I could, but you're going to expect me to babysit you, and I don't have the time for that. So rather than setting up a GitHub account and going through all that crap and then being the mentor for 1,000 plus people, no. There's already an open source option out there. What you're looking at right now is something called Grafana. This is open source. They have their own support forums, their own documentation. You can set this up a lot easier than it would be for me to go set up everything and be everyone's babysitter. Now, if we go back, if I can do this without making things go out of focus, that's the original thing that I wrote in PHP, and it looks horrible on a desktop or a laptop, but it looks normal on a cell phone. That's what I wrote it for. So it's very basic, and I tried to put charts in there, and they aren't very coherent. They're not even accurate, actually. But if I go back to Grafana, I have these gauges that tell me my humidity, east side air temperature, west side, average fish tank temperature, my boiler temperature, and if I want to get really geeky, I can pull up graphs showing a timeline of things. And if I want to bring in a graph and make it go full page, I can do that. And I can hover over things and get precise measurements for what time. I can add annotations if I want to. I'm not going to. But this is open source, and they have their own support forums. Oh wow, hey look, all my grow grips. We'll get to that later. If a person is doing anything with a Raspberry Pi computer, you have to know how to interface sensors and output devices like relays and such. So even if I were to release source code, that still isn't going to help you interface things. So there are plenty of other sources on the internet where you can learn to do that. Once you learn how to interface your Raspberry Pi to all your sensors and output devices, then it's just a matter of getting Grafana installed on the computer that's running your stuff. And there you go. There's your full open source option. So, no, I'm not releasing anything that I did because I don't want to babysit people. But if you want something that works off of a Raspberry Pi, well, you have options. Luckily, it saves me a lot of grief. So there you go, people. Let me switch that back. I'll go back to my gauges. And there you go. And it's all running on a Raspberry Pi computer. So there's your open source option. No need to bother me any further. Moving on to the next topic now. Okay, as a follow-up to that video a year ago that I did out here, I'll just show the changes that I've made since then. I guess one unintentional change. Yeah, see those little round spots? Yeah, we got our asses kicked by a major hailstorm last summer. I found that this greenhouse poly will stand up to quarter size hail, but $half size hail? Nope. So I'll be replacing this. But unlike what some other people would rather you believe, the greenhouse didn't fail to a storm due to bad DIY. There's just nothing you can do about that poly. That 6mm poly, it'll only take so much abuse. The hailstones didn't go through both layers, but it went through the outer layers, so it's having trouble maintaining its pressure to keep it inflated. But as you can see, things are still growing out here just fine, even though it's November and we're down to 10-hour days or less, meaning the amount of sunlight we get. But my NFT rails are still growing just fine. Things that I've changed: I have started implementing koi because those tilapia, they aren't going to live forever, and tilapia are just a pain in the ass. And see that? There's a goldfish over here on this side. There's a live bearer. I put some aquarium fish in that other tank, and one of those babies made its way through the plumbing and into this tank over here. Freaky. Total surprise. But what else has changed? As you can tell, I've changed the colors of the towers because those black ones, they worked great in the wintertime, last year. But when springtime started rolling around, we were getting a whole lot more sunlight, and that water was heating up really well. And I knew there was going to be a problem when summer got here, so I reprinted all my towers. I tried them in blue at first, and yeah, that works, but the light that passes through the tower is still friendly to plants and would actually encourage algae growth in there. But since plants don't use green light, I started reprinting them in green, and that solved the internal algae problem. You can also tell that I have abandoned the rock wool plugs in favor of Rob Torsellini's grow grips. These are the 1-inch ones, and there's a reducer plugged into that planter pocket on the tower that makes it possible to hold the 1-inch grow grip in there. The 2-inch ones are too big, but the 1-inch ones, I didn't even know that he had them. He's a really helpful person. He told me he had those. I'm going, oh, well, I think I might have a new plan. So no, I didn't do it because I'm a tree hugger or anything. It's just because those rock wool plugs started to get cost prohibitive. It's just, even if a plant fails, you got to throw the thing away because it'll be covered with algae and it's useless after that. There was a question that popped up regarding the durability of these towers, and I'll show you something here. If I can get in here with this. See how this one's got little horizontal lines in it? Some of them are dark. The white stuff on there is mineral deposits because I have a mister or a misting system in the greenhouse to cool it down in the summer. So those are mineral deposits because of my well water. But, oops. There's another one that's also cracked. Now, I dropped both of those towers. So, yeah, 3D printed stuff works pretty well for the most part, but no, it's not the most durable. But even in this case, big deal. I can replace those segments for $1 each, maybe less. I could replace the entire tower, 4-foot tower with 15 planter pockets, cap, base, spacer on the bottom, all that for $18. That's the average cost of one roll of filament. So, big deal if you break one. Just replace the part that you broke or replace the entire tower. It's not a big deal. And I've also gotten rid of that gutter guard in those gutters on the bottom because it's hard to get the towers in and out of. The strings on the bottom hang up on the gutter guard foam, so I just cut other pieces of gutter material and snapped them in on top, and that solves the problem perfectly fine. I mean, yeah, there's still some algae in there, but think about it. You're doing aquaponics under direct sunlight, you're going to have algae. It's a given. So just expect it. It's going to happen. You can also see I've added a DWC bed. I'm going to be adding one more. And I know people are going to be, well, certain people are going to be on the comments again going, oh God, Larry, you're an idiot because towers are the best. Well, no, they're not. They're good for some things, and they're good for saving space if you're going to grow a lot of small plants, but large plants you cannot grow in the towers. And then there's also the fact that I needed more water volume out here to retain temperature because, well, I don't like running that pellet stove down there. It's running right now, low burn. But I don't like running that a whole lot because, the pellets, they tend to get expensive. And even the electric tank heaters in the fish tanks, it's about the same price for electricity and those pellets. But if I can increase my water volume, I'm going to lose temperature a whole lot slower. So that's why I'm adding the DWC beds. And frankly, I have plenty to grow out here anyway. Those towers right there, that's 240 plants. Those NFT rails, that's another 36. So, what, 276 heads of lettuce? That's more than enough. I can grow larger heads of lettuce over here in these, and in the summertime, if my pH is right, I can grow other plants like tomatoes and peppers. It just depends on the pH. That goes up and down like a yo-yo. But as far as everything else out here, and yes, I do grill in the greenhouse because I like laughing at people. It's freezing outside. I can have steaks or burgers. Beautiful thing. But the wicking beds are still working just fine. I have new plants coming up. I got red beets in there. My basil, it's dying off because there just isn't enough sunlight for it. I got Swiss chard and kale coming up, and bok choy. These are some larger heads of lettuce. But I still have parsley and what is that? Malabar spinach. I threw some mustard greens in there. Then arugula and chives. Watermelon radishes. My herb bed is dying off because, again, not enough sunlight. Same with the lemongrass. The dill is still kind of growing. That spinach is dying off, but those are black Spanish radishes. Those are nice and hot, and then these are called watermelon radishes, so that they're actually white on the outside and red on the inside. So, and here we are, November 25th. Things are still growing just fine. You just got to pick cold weather-friendly crops if you're going to grow in the wintertime. And that's what I've done, so I'm still going to have food growing out here all year long. And maybe I'll get the other bed done here in the next month or so. But, like I said, a lot of people seem to think that towers are the be-all and end-all to aquaponics, and no, they aren't. Sorry, they just are not. If you pay attention to all of those hype videos that came out of Wyoming, yeah, they were trying to sell you something. That's why they wanted you to buy their towers, and keep in mind, a lot of those videos over there were staged. Hype, Well, for example, see, my gutters have algae in them, a small amount. You notice all of his gutters were always perfectly clear, looked like they were brand new, sitting in direct sunlight. Wonder why there wasn't any algae in those gutters. You know why? Because those were staged videos. Very well staged. But that's all I have for greenhouse changes and updates out here. I'm going to cut this off because I have to get to work. Good thing I work from home and don't have to drive to work, but I figured I would get this over with since we're coming up on a year since that calling BS on DIY being hideous and ugly video. So I'm going to wrap this up, feed my fish, go back inside. That's a lime tree. Sorry, forgot to cover that. But that's it. Catch you around next time. Bye.